the basic thinking was, wait a minute, everybody's speaking about R&D and technology, but there's this huge area of R&D of new jobs, of future of jobs that I want to be in.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Turing, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. I'm joined today by Avis Snir, co-founder and CEO of Elevation. Avi is the founder and CEO of Elevation, an entrepreneur, husband, father, and believer. He loves hummus, consistently lives in a village outside of Tel Aviv, and spends his spare time wondering about the future of work, skills, careers, and in between. Avi Snir, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me and in this conversation right now. I know how busy you are, so these 20 minutes, I'm going to try to make them as special as possible, talking both about your own journey into the world of education tech and upskilling and reskilling and online transformations. But I'm also excited to talk about the industry as a whole. And why 7 years ago did you understand that we even have this need? What has happened to the world that you said we need to have something like Elevation? And so, Avi, I want you to take me back a little bit, whether it's to your army days or whether it's to your days with Herzog, Fox, and Neiman. What is going on with you where you understand that there is a need for some change in the way that people get education?
Great question. So basically, I grew up in a small village. It's like an hour south of Tel Aviv. I didn't really knew about all the opportunities and the new skills and tech. My first job was in the fields. I grew up in a small community, and when I went out of to the army, I went to special forces. I stayed there a bit longer, 6-7 years almost. And when I went out, I didn't really knew what I wanted to do, like all the others. So I decided to do this general BA, I call it, and to learn law and business management in the IDC in Herzliya. And I knew I didn't want to be a lawyer, but I knew that I need to get the roots and the ground to actually start something of my own. My last position in the special forces was the head of school of commando, and this is where I fell in love with education and training and skills. It's different, but it's kind of the same. And I saw that when you look at the life after the army, especially in Israel, there's a lot of things that you can bring over from the resilience side, from the skill side. And then I started my journey in life, okay? Like you said, I went to Herzog Fox Neiman. It was the biggest law firm in Israel, tech, M&A. Basically, I just wanted to get to know better the industry, the investors, and everybody around that. But it was a great journey. And I realized that, like me, there's a lot of people around that don't really know what they want to do. I looked at my grandparents. Both grandfathers worked at the same place for more than 40 years. Okay, one he started the cowshed in the village, and the other one worked in the Israel electric company. And it was kind of simple, but our life was more complicated. And I realized that it's not around the position, it's around building your portfolio of micro careers when you're looking at yourself in this me.com area, looking at yourself as a product. And it's not around the title, it's around the skill set that you want to deal with and the light that you want to bring to the universe. Then I read this article from Oxford stating that if you're looking at 2030, it was around 13 or 14, 60% of the best jobs, then we don't know what it's going to be. Okay, and we know that there is a lot of jobs that's going to disappear and a lot of new jobs will come over. and it looks like super exciting industry. And the basic thinking was, wait a minute, everybody's speaking about R&D and technology, but there's this huge area of R&D of new jobs, of future of jobs that I want to be in because I really like around education, and it came together with all my agenda from the maybe like more social part of actually doing something that can help people change their lives. It's not like all startups saying we're going to change the world. Okay, I wanted to change people's lives. I know that we can start small. I can start with 1 people, with 2 people, with 5 people, and on the way we found like different ways to actually do that. This is why like I started to think around it. It was back then when all the accelerated learning programs started in the US, General Assembly, and all these big companies today. And in Israel, we basically had nothing. So this is how I started.
So you're talking, now at scale, and you're projecting to 2030 with these reports that I don't think there's any contestation as to their validity now. Obviously, most of the jobs that we know today are going to be transformed in a dramatic way, one way or another. But before we head to there, I want to go back a little bit to Maglan, I believe, and you also start elevation while you're also in reserve duty as a lieutenant colonel. And what is it about your experience with Maglan and with the school over there that gave you the passion and the insight for the world of education? Because I'm always fascinated. What was it that really said, wow, like this is really, really impactful?
Yeah. So back in the service, I took like 2 years of being a company commander of the training area. And all the time I had like around 100 soldiers that we took them from civilians to being like a special forces. And you saw how training can be super transformational. After I went out of the army, like the reserve duty was a kind of a hobby. Okay. And I didn't have like time for other hobbies because it was kind of intense. But I think there's like similar lines between being a special forces unit commander to being an entrepreneur or CEO, like founder of a startup. Okay. It's like small teams, really mission driven, really agile thinking, have to react really fast to what's happening in the fields and how everything is changing so fast, and coming with this state of mind of, okay, we have a plan, but everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So let's talk about the other options that we have, the other plans, and kind of be ready for everything.
And so, with this idea of being ready and being open-minded and understanding how impactful education can be on a person, and obviously most Israelis that go through this sort of training and understand how quickly and how dramatic it is. And I can only imagine in an elite unit like Maglan how impactful it is to be in the position you were at. You're creating elevation, and paint me a picture of where we are today in terms of the world of upskilling, and how do you actually see the industry from sort of a bird's eye view in terms of education, reskilling, upskilling? What is happening there?
Great. So basically, when I started Elevation, it was around B2C, and after like a year, we started to do both B2C and B2B. Today, we found a route to work only with B2B, but it came from a few perspectives. First of all, we realized that if you want to do a really good education, it's kind of expensive, and we find a way that we can help people get new skills and improve their life, but have someone else to pay for that. So we're working with a lot of organizations, with the government, with different nonprofits to fund a lot of the different training that we have, and with the companies to train their employees. But when we look at the industry, there is this report from the World Economic Forum every 2 years around the future of jobs. Last one was in October 2020. And it's again speaking about the rapid change, the automation, the shifting all the job market. By the way, they now stating that in 2025 there is approximately 97 million jobs that may disappear,
Wow.
and from the 85 million jobs that will disappear, and from the other hand, 97 million jobs that can be like new. The problem in the last year with the COVID, that was the pace of new jobs that are coming was kind of slower. So it was like a problem, but it's also stating that more than 40% of employees will need some kind of upskilling due to the automation, due to the new technologies, cloud, the data, everything around that. So it's coming together with the fact that CEOs and C-levels understand that it's strategy, and learning and development in organization kind of going through what marketing went through maybe 12 years ago, from something that is like nice to have to something that is really strategy of the company, data driven, looking to see the ROI, the return on investment. And this is where we came over. And we realized that today companies doing one of the two options. They can do like online, full online, get one of the websites and do subscription for the employees. And we know that the completion rate is quite low and it's hard. Or they can start their own internal academy, because it's kind of heavy to do all the upskill, reskill. It's not on the way. We came over and saw that it's really hard for companies, so we want to build it for them. And this is what we're doing. The mission is to build internal capabilities academies to move the needle for strategic KPI that they have, with the same vision of changing people and companies' lives through getting new tech skills.
So, a naive question, one that I think has to be asked. There's two options to go here. I'm trying to simulate the way a CEO would think. You can, bring in and upskill a lot of your workers and help them gain the talent and the skills necessary for the next phase, or you can get new talent, right? You can get people that are fresh, that know these skills and just replace your workforce. From your point of view, why is it obvious to you that the latter is not the right decision, yet we should instead focus on our current talent and just work on upskilling them in the organization?
Yeah, so build versus buy, it's like one of the major questions in the last maybe 2 years. Before the COVID, everybody spoke about optimization of current workforce due to the changes. And we know that if we're looking at the numbers, it's easier and it's cheaper to do reskill for your employees. So if you have an employee that's working in a position or with a skill set that you see that it's less relevant in the future, you can do with in a really short time of training, you can get him to another place. We know that the cost of losing someone or firing someone is really high, and the cost of hiring and the time that it gets you to get the right people, if you're looking at the equation, it's better to do the reskill. But the things needs to come in parallel. So we see huge organizations that actually building huge upskill programs specifically around data skills, trying to make the organization more data driven, and in parallel finding the right people and building these small reskill programs that can take people from A to a different place within the organization. And it's not like companies just like Google, Facebook, or Wix. We're talking about banks, we're talking about non-profit organization, we're talking about like more traditional parts that we see it happening.
So today with Elevation, let's say that you're working with a company, a traditional company, a business, and you're coming in there saying, listen, Avi, we have this, we have this need, we have these employees, and we need them to understand these different skill sets that they don't yet have, because these skills weren't relevant, even a few years ago, and so nobody acquired them. yet we want to upskill and reskill them for the new digital age. How does it actually work tangibly? You're mentioning before that one of the biggest challenges is to get to a an okay completion rate, which doesn't really happen with the memberships to the different websites. How does Elevation, work through those inherent challenges that education tech brings with it?
Great. So, first of all, we're coming with a full solution of services, so we can help the company better understand the KPIs from the business project from the business side, business objectives, and from the learning objective side, and then we can come with the right plan for them. It's not always the same skill set. To be a data analyst in Wix, it's different from to be a data analyst in one of the banks, for example. After that, we have like our own unique methodology. The training is blended, so it's bringing the best out of the online and in life. Let's say you have a live Zoom training with lead trainers, and you have this platform that you can learn by yourself, because we want you to be in a place that we give you the tools to keep learning all the time. And the methodology is to do an assessment to better understand where you're at, and then do the training according to your level, and at the end, give the actual report of the level of knowledge that you gained. So it's not around just the completion rate, although the completion rate in Elevation is more than 90%. It's
Wow.
also around measuring the actual ROI. You invested time, you invested money. We can show you the level of knowledge that you gained within this journey. And once we're realizing which KPIs we're serving, within the HR department, it's easy for us, because if it's like internal training around time to hire, time to fill, or cost of hiring, it's one thing. If it's training program around retention for employees, not necessarily with the skill set that they need for their jobs, it's another thing.
What is something that you learned about, the consumer behavior, the people that are going through these programs? What is something that you learned, throughout these 7 years that you said, wow, I didn't anticipate this, or this is something that may be surprising to the average listener who's now, getting introduced to this idea of reskilling and upskilling?
Yeah, so basically, I learned that it's all about the people, and all people are kind of the same in the way that they want to gain the new skills. And it doesn't really matter if you're working in Google, in a non-profit, or in a traditional place. It's more about your state of mind. And if you really understand the benefits that you're getting from the organization in this program, and you understand like the bigger picture of, wait a minute, now I'm doing this, and I love doing this area, but it's going to kind of disappear, and I need to find the other things that I can do with my skill set, or gain new skills in order to make my life better. So everybody is up to the mission, and once they're realizing it, everybody is like learning the same. And we have like crazy stories from places like that sent someone that was like a front desk to a reskilling program as a bonus. They didn't count on him to come over and be an analyst, and he was like second in class and become an analyst, and things like this. So a lot of the people trying to get to the market, they're going to have a degree because someone told them that this is the right way. Okay, I'm not sure. And then they're starting with something, but they need to keep and realize what they actually want to do. And sometimes when you're giving opportunities to people that you believe in, you will find out that they can give more with their skill set, and gain more and give more for the company, for sure.
I love that. Avi, 20 minutes go by way too fast. Thank you for coming here and sharing with me your journey and your experiences. But I do have a few fun questions for you if you're ready.
Sure.
All right. Favorite subject in middle school or high school?
Wow. So I actually came from a religious school, religious place. And my major was Israel studies. It's like history and geography and computers. But I did 5 units around the Bible and the Gemara. And I basically really liked the Gemara part to kind of think about it and ask the right question. It was really nice and surprisingly kind of something that I liked.
I haven't had that response yet. I love it. Somebody that you look up to, perhaps a role model of yours.
Yeah, so my role model is my grandmother from my father side. She came with nothing from Auschwitz. After the Holocaust, she built a crazy family. She lost her son. I was named after my uncle that got killed in a Yom Kippur war, and she was still super positive and always like brought us to a place that we need to look at like the bright side of life and be optimistic and see how we can make the life of everybody else better.
I love it. And 3 words you would use to describe yourself.
Myself, father, husband, entrepreneur, not necessarily in this order, but around that.
I love it. Avi, toda rabba. Thank you so much. Continue, reskilling and upskilling the lives of many people. And I think that what you're touching on here, this idea that, we get this traditional education where we destine ourselves for a certain type of work early on, but the world, is changing in front of us. And even if we thought one thing in 3 years, it's going to be different. And the ability for us to absorb this information and to continue reskilling and upskilling, in my mind, it's continuing to provide opportunities to people to make a change and to improve, and to level the playing field over and over again every few years. I think it's just marvelous. Thank you for coming and sharing it with me, and best of luck, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. I love the quote of James Dean that is saying that if you can't change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust yourself to always reach your destination. And this is like what I'm saying to companies and to the employees. Automation is here. Skills are shifting. We're in a skills industry. Try to see where the wind is heading and adjust yourselves. So dream big, and thank you for having me again. It was great.
Thank you, Avi. Bye-bye.